Hey, it's Scott here with ILS. And in this video, I'd like to talk about a new process we're going to have in version 509 on how to work late inbound shipments. We've introduced some couple new transactions, and the report's going to look a little bit different that the LRS looks at every day to identify their late inbounds. So to start with, if you currently work late inbound shipments, then you'll already have the capability, so you won't need to request a new capability. And I'm going to show you the quickest way to get to the report to identify your overdue. So if you just type over up in the search bar, you'll see all the different options. And the first one I want to talk about is the all. So I'll get into those other conditions. So what we tried to do was, as you work an overdue shipment, so you got a requisition, it's got ship status, it's late, you can flag that order based off of what you find out, where it's at. Does transportation need to look at it? Is it truly lost? Did you find updated status? And as you look here, you can see those different conditions. Now, we made changes in Chapter 10. So currently in the ILS User's Manual, Chapter 16, I think, covered all late inbound. Pretty much all that is gone. And we went ahead and we rolled this into manage orders. Because really that's what you're doing is you have an order, it has ship status, and it's late. So you need to manage that order. So Chapter 10 has all these changes that I'm going to talk about in this video. And those overdue shipment conditions, I went ahead and flipped over here to the table that's going to be in Chapter 10, and it explains what each of those overdue shipment conditions are. And I'll show you here back in ILS on how to update those. But this gives you an idea of what we tried to do was give you the capability to flag that order and then be able to filter off of that status. So that, like right now, I'm going to look at all overdue shipments. And as I change the status, I'll be able to come back in and run that specific report to show me, for instance, transportation review required, or tracing, or received not processed. But this table in Chapter 10 explains those overdue shipment conditions. So back over here in ILS, I went to the overdue shipments, and we're looking at all of them. Now, if you click on this search criteria, that'll expand out, and this is the search criteria that you can filter on. But like I said, if you just pick all overdue shipments, it presets this for you, and you really don't have to mess with it. Anyways, you'll come in here, and these are all the due ins that have ship status that are late based off of the day criteria set for your SRAN. That was another change that we did, is to make it configurable by SRAN. So previously, the number of days that were used to determine whether something was late was based off of CONUS. You're either a CONUS base or you're an overseas base, OCONUS. And then based off of the priority of the requisition, you could set the number of days. So what we did now is I'm able to set by SRAN and by priority and RDD combinations how many days before something shows up as being late. But anyway, so these are based off the criteria, for 4620, which is a CONUS base. These are my late requisitions. So the idea is you'd come in here and, hopefully work the oldest one. It's sorted by estimated ship date. So I'd want to come up here and work my oldest one. And if you've ever worked MyCap or stock control managing orders, this is going to look familiar to you because this is what we call the orders detail page. And we just reuse that. We already have all orders in ILS. So now we just made some filter criteria to just show me the ones that are overdue. So once you're in here, you got the event bullets. Each one of these you can expand. So there's my due in, and the first thing you'll notice that's new is it's got that bright yellow banner saying, hey, this is overdue. I have ship status. I should have had it by now. Some things that we also tried to do was, provide you some query capability without leaving this page. So query order, that goes back to the wholesale, in this case, stock control system, because it's a Air Force depot. But if that was a SMS, DLA, it'd go back to DLA system. And the idea is you want to make sure that the wholesale has the same status as what we're showing. Because the whole idea is here, did it really ship? And is it really late? You can query audit trail. It'll query audit trail by that document number. So if you need to do some research there to see what's been happening, you can do that. The other research tool you have, you come down here to tracking. You should start seeing commercial carrier. If this part moved by UPS, DHL, FedEx, I guess 2 releases ago, we go get that information. We pre-populate this. So if there is a UPS tracking number in there, it'll be hyperlinked. You can click that and it'll take you right to the UPS page to give you more information. Because remember, the idea is here, you're trying to find this part and where it's at. This refresh tracking info, that'll launch a GTN or IGC query, the other transportation tool. And you'll try to get data from there. So the idea is here is you're just trying to find where this part's at. So you can either update it or, if you know it's moving, then you want to give it to transportation to let them do further research on it. But we tried to give you the tools here. So after you do your research and you figure out, or you hopefully figure out what's going on with it, you come here to ship status. Again, it tells you it's overdue, and this is new here. I can modify my overdue shipment condition. So this is where you can update this order to show what you found in your research. So for instance, if I queried and I can see this part's definitely moving, but it just hasn't made it to my base yet. I need transportation to go get with a commercial carrier and find out where this thing's at. So I'd flag this one as transportation review required, and then put a comment in there. Trans, needs to find it. You can type whatever you want in here. So what that does now is that set the condition to TRR. So we came up with abbreviations. So if you go back to that chapter 10 reference, you'll see each one of these overdue conditions has an abbreviation. So I'd probably print this out and keep it handy so you'll know what those abbreviations are, because that's what's going to show up on the other report. So it shows up as TRR. And again, everything you do on this order is tracked here in the event bullets. If I come back over here to the due in and I rerun this report, so I can come back here and just go to show me all overdue shipments. When I come over here to the right, you can see there my overdue condition now is TRR. So when you're at this level here, you'll be able to know what state or what the condition is of that shipment. And the idea is now that one is flagged as transportation review required, again, when I come up here and I type over, there's a report right here to show me just those due ins that have that condition. So I would imagine when you run that report, everything that shows up here, you'd want to forward to transportation to let them work. So procedurally, I don't know how that'll work at the LRS. If the transportation guys have access to ILS, then we'd have to show them how to get to this report, or you just sit here and export it to Excel and email it to them and say, hey guys, can you go look at these TCNs and see if you can't give me some updated information. But really, that's the idea, is to work each one of these, and then based off your research, update the condition. Again, it's on the due in tab, and then on the ship status. So what I want to show you, so let's say on this one here, you know it's lost. You can't find it. We need to, what we used to call tar splat, right? You want to write this one off. It's lost. Based off the dollar value, I'm going to do an SDR on it. Previously, you'd bring up the tar screen, do action code asterisk, and that would delete due in, and you'd go ahead and do your SDR. What we've done though is we broke out 2 of the action codes on tar. So you can't go bring up the tar screen and run a tar asterisk or a tar D, which deleted the ship status. We created 2 new transactions, an LOS, lost overdue shipment, and then ASD is a ship status delete. So what I want to show you is these tricks, those new transactions will be added to the customer service transaction group. But we wanted to break those out so we can easily pull them up an audit trail on what's happening. So if you come up here in transactions, right, and you type tar, there's the tar screen that you would traditionally use, right? And if I come in here and I try to do a tar asterisk, and I'm just going to put some, no, I can't do that. If you try to run a tar asterisk here, it's going to come back and tell you unauthorized transaction. If you try to run a tar D, it'll come back and tell you unauthorized. All the other tar action codes, if you have the need to run those, I know we use some of those in the SDR process. This is the screen that you'll do it on. But ideally, you're going to want to run those transactions from right here. So you're here, you're working this order, you know that this has bogus ship status, let's say, right? I know this ship status isn't right. I want to load good status. So you come here and you want to run ship status delete. So what you're going to notice is it comes up with what we call the ASD transaction. But if you look closely, it's still really a tar. I mean, we didn't change the actual transaction. We just invented a new transaction. And it pre-fills it for you, so really you don't have to type anything in. And there, it's processed. So what happens now is when that order refreshes, and this is a nice thing here, that ship status should be gone. Or it will be gone when I refresh this order. So this is almost real time. It takes a few minutes for that update to come through, but if I run an inquiry on that ship status should be gone. And then the idea is you should load good status, whatever that may be, on that order. Let me show you. So if I come back here, let's just pick another one of these. And let's say on this one, I want to tar splat this, right? So I want to delete this due in for whatever reason. Can't find it, it's lost, need to get rid of it. What you need to do though, so if you come down here and you try just to run this LOS, again, it comes up pre-filled. You don't have to type anything in there, just hit submit. But what you're going to find though is it wants you to set the overdue condition and put some comments in there, so that when we come back and look at this order later, we'll know what research was done. So you got to come back out of here, go to the due in, ship status. I want to set this to lost in transit, right? Can't find it. You should type something more than that in there, but So now, when I come down here to transactions, you gotta come out of here. So now when I go do this LOS, it's going to let it go. And processed. So now when I look up here at the events bullets, this should give me a diary really of what's been done on this order. Shipment tracking is the title of those events. Overdue shipment flagged as LIT. All right, again, we use abbreviation, so you come back over here. LIT is lost in transit. And then you'll see where I processed the tar, where I deleted that out. That's probably the biggest change is you don't go to the tar screen anymore. And you should run all your transactions while you're on this orders detail. So as you're researching this, you figure out what's wrong with it. Go down here to the transaction. And the transactions that show up in this drop down are ones that are assigned your user. So these are ones that you're authorized to process. So for my user, I'm only authorized those 3, but let's say you had AE and AS and SPUR, whatever other transactions are in that customer service transaction group or whatever transaction group you're assigned would show up in here if those transactions have something to do with an order management. And then as you come back over here, like I said, this is almost real time. What happens is those orders will refresh like every 5 minutes or so. So changes that you make will be reflected on here. You won't have to wait till the next day to see changes on the report, which is what you have currently on the late inbound. So really, when you come in and you want to work them, just type over. And these are all they filter them for you. So if you want to look at the ones that are transportation review required that you set, or tracing, or received not processed, lost in transit. The snooze is one. We put the snooze in there. So if you're researching to do in, and let's say you find that, it's shipped, I know where it's at, and it's, let's say, stuck in customs. Or, it's just delayed somewhere and you know where it's at. You can go in and set the overdue shipment status to snooze, put a comment in there, all right, while you're snoozing it. And that way, when you look at the list the next day, you come over here to overdue conditions and you can say, all right, that one's snooze. I don't need to go look at it. So really the whole idea is provide you a means to flag these shipments so that as you go work them, or if somebody else comes in and works them, they can look at it at a glance and see what's already been done to it. And of course, the other goal was to provide you some research tools while you're looking at that order, different transportation, because the whole idea is you got to try to find where it's at. That's really the biggest changes. Like I said, Chapter 10 really explains in detail all those. The biggest thing is those overdue shipment conditions and what they mean and when you should use them. The late inbound reports are still going to be out there for a while, so if you type late up here, and this is one of the reasons we modified this, is just because you look at all these different reports, you're like, oh, which one do I go to find my late inbounds, or what we're calling overdue shipments now. So it was a little more, it was complicated to try to figure out where to go. Those will be out there for a while, and we'll probably eventually remove those menu options so you won't even see them anymore. But starting in 509, you want to go look at your overdue shipments, just type over and go look at the all. That way you know you're looking at all of them. And then you'll be able to go over and see what the status is, what the condition of them are. That's really it. Chapter 10 has more detail. You can always, I monitor the different forums that are out there, the material management forum, There's the ILS SharePoint discussion forum. You can always contact me directly, Scott Hunter. I'm at Gunner, and we'll be happy to talk more about this. But hopefully this YouTube video will show you how to get to these different reports and how to run those different transactions. So like I said, give us a call if you have any questions. Thanks.